You know what we're doing here?
Thank you very much. Yes, hello everyone. I'm InfinityGene, and I'm going to walk you through a lovely 80% playthrough of Disruptor for the PlayStation 1. This is, for all intents and purposes, Insomniac's birth child before the games of Spyro the Dragon, Ratchet and Clank, and of course all of the Spider-Man games that are now on the modern consoles. But yeah, just to sort of briefly explain this game, it's essentially a Doom clone, but a really well-made one. And I'm going to start explaining the differences between this against Doom and why this game stands out a lot more against Doom, in my opinion. So time's going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. And so we're starting in the training level, which I'm not doing a good start right now. I've just been body blocked by all these spike balls. But basically, we play as Jack Curtis. He's a light stormtrooper who has basically psionic abilities that he can use, sort of like spells that he can use to defeat all the criminals. I don't know why these robots are not cooperating today, unfortunately, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to navigate past all these robots without having to fight them by just squeezing past. You can see at the moment we only have a standard pistol to begin with, but we will be getting different weapons as we go throughout the game. And with that, that's the first level done. So basically, on each level, we have to get to the teleporter at the end. Some require us to do certain objectives, like collect certain items, and most levels are pretty much just going from point A to point B. Some levels have different endings as well. Sometimes we'd have to use a teleporter to get out. But yeah, so basically, when it comes to the comparisons of like Doom, of course, you've got your standard weapons which you pick up throughout the entire game. You don't retain these weapons. These weapons are just given to you at the start of the level, but you do pick up different weapons throughout each level. These bugs are not cooperating either. This level is usually a bit simple, but I don't know why those bugs are in the way. We're going to use one of our new psionics, Shock, to destroy those robots quickly and finish the level. So the first 3 levels are sort of like tutorial levels, pretty much, just to get you used to the controls. In the actual storyline, they are classed as training missions, and then the 4th level is one of the actual missions that you're involved in. So the main plot of this game is, again, we're a light stormtrooper, but our boss, Krieger, has a bit of a evil side to him, which we will find out later on. I'm not going to spoil anything with that later, but I will tell you when it comes. So with this one here, we need to be careful not to activate any of the bombs that are scattered around the map. You might see a glimpse of them here and there, which I'll show you in a moment. We're going to use Shock, just get rid of those robots, and then just walk across here. Going to zap that one and use our auto pistol now that we picked up, just to get rid of that other robot. So these bombs deal quite a significant amount of damage, so that's why we don't want to activate them. They're basically like pretend civilians on this one for the training mission in the game. But if you hit them, they home in on you and just explode, so you need to be careful. These elevators, you just need to make sure that you stand fairly still on them. You don't have to be perfectly still, but you have to be sort of in the middle of them for them to activate. And then we're going to strafe into the next teleporter to finish that level. So with that, the first 3 levels are done, all the training's done. Now we're actually getting into the nitty-gritty missions, with the first one being quite aggressive in terms of ammo and psionic energy supplies. So in the last mission, we just picked up a new psionic known as Drain. Drain allows us to drain additional energy from enemies, which allows us to use more of our psionics. We're going to switch to Shock quickly, just using the menu. I'm going to pinch this guy's shotgun here, which is probably one of the best weapons in the game, because it allows us to deal a single shot or a double shot if we want to. We're going to use Shock just to get a bit more ammo from these enemies, because again, we need a lot of bullets for this one. Because if you start getting towards the end of the level with no ammo, you're probably going to have to do a restart from the checkpoint. Now, in this corridor up here, you normally have to hit a switch, but if we aggro the enemies, we can just force the door open. So it skips us about 30 seconds instead of going all the way around and having to hit a button just to get into that room. We're going to charge a shot here to destroy the teleporter console, and then to activate it at the same time. We're going to walk over here to hit the switch to get out of the first section of the level. There are 3 different sections to this level, so we're in section 1 currently. If we fall down, we just have to go back into the teleport quickly. These enemies can be a little bit body blocky in this game. There we go. Hit the switch, and then we're going into section 2. It's the same idea. We're going to each section. I don't know why I thought the switch was on the right side then. But we're going to take this one, destroy the console, then, and get out of the section 2. So, as you can hear with the music as well, like, the music feels somewhat Ratchet and Clanky with the theming and everything, and that's because it's made by the same composer as Ratchet and Clank as well. David, I can't pronounce their last name, Bugard? Or Bugo? I think it's got a bit of a way of pronouncing the name. But yeah, it's the same fantastic composer who made all the Ratchet and Clank soundtracks. And yeah, this is why I love this game, because there's so much history with it. Like, this game, you would think, wow, Insomniac's starting with this game. Why have I never heard of it? Well, unfortunately with this game, it didn't sell too well. While reviews were about, what, 80% or something, this game just didn't sell that all. It sold about 200,000 copies, and actually made Insomniac bankrupt. It was very close to doing so. So you're thinking, whoa, like, we nearly didn't have Spyro, we nearly didn't have Ratchet and Clank, Spider-Man, all of those games. But of course, thankfully they pulled through with Spyro, and then they got back on track. I know it was quite a hard period for them, but they pulled through, they worked together, and then they obviously produced an amazing lineup of classic games that we know today. So we're heading towards the last console of the level, and then we've just got to go through the escape teleporter. Basically, we have to destroy all 3 generators on this level, and then the entire base explodes. Unfortunately, there's no like timer or anything when you hit this. It's just like you just get to the exit and then pretend that it exploded. So we're just going to use our last energy there, and then we're just going to get rid of this guy, and then go through the last teleporter. Hit the switch again and get out of this section. HP is extremely important on this game, and we're about to talk about the version differences in this game, and the reason why we're playing the Japanese version. So at the time, a lot of Japanese games tend to have like an easier difficulty against the versions that were released in the West, for example. And this game is no different. So the reason why we run the Japanese version is because there are less enemies, we get dealt less damage, and overall I think the game just plays a little bit quicker, just a tiny bit. And I think that's just a combination of everything though. So now we're into Triton. Triton is a sort of rat-infested level with these sort of rat balls. Controls, hello? So we're just going to quickly go past all of these rats here. It doesn't matter what kind of weapon we use here, it takes them out in one hit pretty much, so just need to get rid of these wasps here so we can go down this corridor. There we go. I'm going to quickly switch to shock because I need that right now, because he's in my way. We're going to save a bit of this ammo for later and just focus on using shock for the rest of the level. Again, this is quite a reasonably simple level. You just need to just get past some of these quickly. And then when you get to the outside section, it's like, what, 30 seconds until it's done. But this game, when you play it casually, you can get quite lost on it. But thankfully, there is a map. So you can pull up the map at any time and just have a little glance. So again, it's very Doomy. Like, it's got all the same elements, you know, the same kind of weaponry. You know, some weapons use the same ammo types as well. So what we're currently using are AM canisters. And this powers up the AM blaster, which I'm using right now, as well as a cyclone, which is like a sort of... I want to call it like a grenade launcher, I suppose, but we'll get to see that ever so briefly, but we're not going to use it because it's one of the more dangerous weapons to use. Certain weapons can deal self-damage, and the Cyclone is no exception to that, so... this is the phase rifle at the moment, but we're never going to use the phase rifle in this run. We might use the phase repeater later, and with that, Triton's complete. So yeah, as you can see right now, you've got the sort of the basic idea on how this game works. We're going to get introduced to more and more psionics and weapons later on. Specifically on this level that's coming up, we're into Mars now, and we're actually going to spawn with no weapons except our psionics. And we're going to have to basically deal with all the enemies just using our spells, or our psionics in this case. Our new psionic is known as Blast, and this is going to be our major psionic for the entire run. So basically, Blast is a 25 energy psionic, and when you use it, it basically it basically screen wipes. Sorry about the blah then. I have to sort of sometimes reset when I'm talking. But yeah, so basically it's a screen wipe weapon, but it also returns energy every time we use it as well. So depending on how many enemies are on the screen, we might get a full refund. So very effective against groups of enemies. Not so effective against one single enemy. However, on this level, there's a bit of an exception to that because these enemies body block the route so much that you can't really navigate past them all the time. So this one we pop him, get a bit of energy back as a refund. And these levels have recharges as well. So we can stand here, get a recharge. We can't move in this state. We've got to wait till it finishes charging, and then we can leave. We're actually going to attempt a little bit of a skip in one of these recharges to make sure that we're not wasting too much time in those areas. Pop those, fall down here. Now we're going to double tap R1, which is our psionic inventory. Now if you double tap it, it brings back the last used psionic, because when you don't have enough energy, it'll revert back to drain, basically. Nice, I got the skip. although I lost a tiny bit of time there. So what you're witnessing now is I'm still invulnerable because the recharges make you invincible. That doesn't really matter too much, but of course now you're going to get all the visual effects and the sound effects repeating all the time. But it is slightly quicker to do this, so... Now, getting into these little recharges can be a bit of a pain, and now you're going to hear it twice, because that's fun. We're nearly approaching the end of the level. That is not the right way. What am I doing? I'm going to pick up the Psionic Orb, which is the main item of the entire run. And the Psionic Orb is essentially what our boss wants us to collect. So we've done all these initial missions, and now he's trusting us to go pick up this magical orb. That gives us 200 energy all of a sudden. After this mission, it increases our energy capacity to 150. As you can see, that's a good example of Blast being used in a big swarm of enemies there. It's just really handy, but it's somewhat slow to use, because the problem is it slows down the game a little bit if there's too many enemies on the screen. Now we're moving on to Antarctica, which is going to introduce one of the cooler skips, hopefully, if I can perform it right, which allows us to skip a small chunk of the level. Basically, we're just going to have to navigate through these simple, weaker enemies. And these weaker enemies, when they're in big groups, they can be quite devastating. Ammo management is extremely important in this level as well, so we're just going to pop off some of these enemies just to be quick, so we're not having them body blockers later. That's actually a good start so far. He's not blocking, that's good. I'm going to switch to Shock. So you can see there's quite a lot of menuing, pretty much, with my inventory quite a lot of the time. And obviously, I've got to make sure that I'm still aiming my shots and not getting jammed in the walls. So, we're going to pick up this AM tank here just for extra ammo. There we go. As you can see now, it's starting to get a little bit hectic in here. I'm going to try and get the HP and hit the switch. Thank you. So this section here, we just got to make sure we don't fall off down these these gaps that are coming up here. This HP here doesn't always pick up. You have to sometimes just stand still until it registers that you're standing on it for some reason. I don't know if the hitbox is a bit messed up on it. So we're going to jump across that, pop you, shock you. There we go. That's really good movement there. Really happy with that. So now we're going to try and avoid using any more ammo for the rest of this section here. Just going to charge up a shot. Pop you, hit the switch, and then we're going inside the facility because we need to go pick up the genetic data bank, which is in here. We're going to kill this enemy here just because we need to keep him out of the way for later for the skip. And now we're going to get introduced to these Titan-like enemies, which have the AM Cyclone. Now, when they're using it, it's not too dangerous, but if I have it, it's very dangerous. So that's why I do not want to pick it up. Otherwise, it'll automatically equip it, and sometimes, if I don't get the switch done, then it's basically going to accidentally fire, and then I'm going to lose all my HP. We're going to switch over to the mine launcher, and we're going to open the map screen here, just so we can get a bit of a reference where we're standing. And then we're going to fire the moment it starts moving the elevator. And hopefully... Oh, unfortunate. So we were trying to clip out of the door here, but the only way you can sort of really do it properly, or know where you're going to be, is by doing it in the map screen, just so you can get a good point of reference. Excuse me, thank you. Basically, there was another door on the right that we could have basically gone through. But unfortunately, if you don't do it, you run out of mines, and then you don't have enough knockback to do it then at that point. So there we go. So you just have to go into that room there as a backup just to hit the switch. Hit this, and then now the door on the left is open. There we go. That room can be a bit... Excuse me. So again, some of those enemies are in my blind spots at the moment, so I couldn't see them. But yeah, so now we've got the Cyclone, we want to switch that out. Because again, it's not the weapon of choice right now. Just going to get rid of him. Now, there's switches in this level where you might be hearing like a click sound. And that's because the switches are located a little bit lower down, but the hitbox for it is quite long and tall, basically. So you're able to just hit the switch in whatever like height you are. So if you're high up or low down, you can still hit it. So I'm going to clear him, hit the switch. Going to get out of that. I'm actually going to switch quickly to Drain in a second as well, because I need a tiny bit more energy. Because I need Blast, basically, for the last room, because there's like 4 or 5 of those Titans blocking the exit. So we're going to go into this room and pick up the genetic databank, which is just in the corner up the stairs. Nope, didn't get enough energy, that's not a problem. So now we're going to do our backup, which is the Cyclone, which is the weapon I said I wouldn't use, but now you can see it in action. There we go. just clears them out, and then we're done with Antarctica. This level is probably the worst in the entire run, just because there's so much going on. There's so many enemies just constantly attacking you, and it's hard to avoid them for sure. Now we're moving on to IO. IO is a bit more of a it's the demo level basically from the demo discs if you had this demo growing up. But if you play the demo, this level ends in like 20 seconds if you know the quick route to doing this initial section. Basically, when you get to the checkpoint, it'll just basically end on the demo. This is the phase repeater we're briefly using. We don't really need to use it, but we just had to use it then because it was the weapon we had equipped. We're going to do a double shot on him, switch to the mine launcher, and then we're going to do a knockback jump up here to skip one part of the section. I'm going to keep the mine launcher equipped just because it's just easier to deal with right now with these enemies. If you were playing the NTSC version right now, there'd be like 2 times the amount of enemies in this corridor, dealing a lot more damage than they should be right now. So, and this is definitely one of my favorite sort of combat tracks on this, because the soundtrack on this is quite dynamic as well. So depending on what's going on, like if you're in a fight, then obviously the music turns into a combat theme, and there's a sort of ambient theme to it as well. And at this point, we're going to be going into a sequence of elevators, so I'm going to pass it over to our host for some messages.
Thank you much. I do not think there's any donations to speak of right yet. Let me double check that. But while I'm looking that up, there are still some polls out there to be, some incentives to be had. You can again choose whether Leon is defended or not in the Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City run later. Otherwise, you can get your name in for all of our great prizes, which include, but are not limited to, no, I'll say them all. The Switch 2 bundle for a $100 donation, you get entered in for that. The Devil May Cry figure bundle, which includes Dante and Trish figurines, $10 gets you in for that. $10 also gets you an entry into Sonic the Hedgehog Squishmallow. And then $10 also puts you in for the Chester Bennington painting, which was done specifically for this fine event by artist and tattoo artist Beck Beware. Comes with a certificate of authenticity and everything. It's real official. And then a Pokemon trading card game bundle for $15 gets you entered for that, which includes a whole bunch of cards, a sealed Silver Tempest Elite Trainer Box, PSA 10 Glaceon EX SAR from Terrestrial Festival, graciously donated by Magikarp Collectibles. So get your donations in now, exclamation donate, before this evening ends, and also before this run ends. Let's show some support to our runner here and get some great donations in while we're watching this very cool game.
Sounds good, thank you very much. Yeah, so at the end of IO then, we just had to go on some conveyor systems. We used the knockback from our shotgun then to get onto it early. Now we're into Reactor, where we have a time limit because the reactor is melting down and we have to go help our boss, who's told us to conveniently get out of the way and go cool down the reactor before it blows up. But little did we know, there is a bit of a twist to this at the end. So we're going to go into this last room here. Each of these rooms have a cooling valve that you can use to extend the timer, but this one gives us the most amount of time. Then we can also do a bit of a clip through this broken elevator behind us, which you can't see. We're hopefully going to get in, otherwise the enemy's going to have to help us, thank you. We're going to go all the way to this door here, just tag it quickly, and then that opens up this final door, which is the end of the level. So it skips like 50% of the level. So we're going to pick up the health upgrade over here, which gives us an extra 25%. We're going to also pick up the Zodiac, which is a bit of a reference to the Ratchet & Clank 2 weapon here, which is another screen wipe weapon, pretty much. It's like a portable blast, but in a gun form. So the plot here is now that we've been told by the Resistance that our boss Krieger is up to no good, and he's trying to steal the psionic orb that we picked up earlier. But he's also trying to steal one of our abilities, which is known as Blast, which is now upgraded to Terra Blast, which is now one of the more powerful versions of the Blast. Terra Blast allows us to penetrate walls, basically. So now it's indicated by like a red glow. Uses the same amount of energy, but you know, it's the same weapon overall. We're going to equip the Zodiac, and we're going to pop this into the next room here. And you can see how this penetrates all the walls as well. So you can hear some enemies behind the door just also dying as well. There we go. We're going to try and skip all these balls as much as possible, but they do body blockers. And they can also jam the door as well. Just going to pop them like that. There we go. Get past all the enemies quickly. That's a fun room to use Blast on as well if you want a ton of energy, but at this point you're at the end of the level already. Just got to navigate past these, and there we go. So we're going to walk into Krieger's office, but oh no, he's done something to the room. He's put us to sleep, and now we're falling down to the ground and having a bit of a snooze. Even though it says mission complete still. So now we've been caught by Krieger, and he's going to attempt to steal our Terror Blast ability by putting us into a sort of dreamlike state at the moment. And while we're in the dream, he's going to attempt to steal it from us. So Dream is basically like the Mars level, except there are actually no weapons at all. Whereas in Mars, there are weapons scattered around, but you don't actually need them. I'm going to switch to Shock for the whole of this top section here, because these enemies only need a shock to deal with. Throughout the level, energy does spawn around as well, so you're not going to run out of energy at any point. And of course, you do have Drain. This burger enemy, we're going to try and bait him to the right there. We're going to jump to the hole down here and just turn around. That just sets us up when we get down here, because if you're going forwards, you're going to end up being backwards in this section here. We're going to switch over to Blast, and then we're going to use this for the remainder of the level. There's some bulkier enemies that need a Blast, basically like these ones. Kind of similar to the ones on Mars where they're body blocking. Oops, that was a bit too early. And then we've got a couple more enemies to deal with. There we go. Oh, damn it. I was trying to do a bit of a skip there, where if you can basically do a blast at the right time, you can skip this momentum of you slowing down the hole, basically, and it just instantly drops you down and ends the level. So that's quite a cool trick to get, but it's really hard to perform because it requires a little bit of timing, basically. Because you need to do it while you're in the thing, and then it'll basically cut out the slowness. So now we're in prison at the moment, but they haven't given us nothing. We've still got our blast abilities, so we can obviously use that. And now we have a weapon. But we're not going to really use any weapons on this. In fact, we're probably not going to use any psionics, except maybe for one enemy right here, basically. Just because they're in the way. There we go. And now we're going to have our funny little baton weapon now for a few seconds. I'll bring it back, though. It's just a simple melee weapon. It does, like, 1 damage, pretty much. So, not so effective. Not so good. But this is pretty much the entire level. We're just in a straight line here. Now, I've got to be careful here, because if you go too quick as well, the game can stutter for like a few seconds. And that's because it's loading in the next block of the level, basically. Because each of these levels are loaded in chunks. And that's why on the level Antarctica, we didn't want to go too quick if we got the skip, because we would not load in the level properly. And if you walk into an unloaded level, or an unloaded section, then basically you're just soft locked. You cannot move and you cannot leave. You can't even use the cyclone to intentionally restart the level. You just have to quit, use the password, and then start the whole level again. Which is a bit unfortunate, but it rarely happens if you're just a little bit patient. So after this chasm here, there's a room on the left here where this guard is going for lunch. See you later. I'm going to hit the last teleport switch here, and then we're going to go to the other teleport on the left here. And pretty much approaching the end of the level. We're also approaching the end of the game. We've still got one more level to go, which is the Fortress, which allows us to go against the evil Krieger who hasn't paid our salary yet for our job, because you know, we're sort of an employee, I guess, of our boss. So, but yeah, we're going to go against him now. We're going to try and build up a lot of psionic energy here, as well as just maintaining as much ammo as possible. So we're going to use Drain multiple times here just to extract energy from all the enemies that we encounter. So we drain and just do a single shot of shotgun. That's usually the most efficient way to deal with these enemies. The shotgun's really good though in general, just because it does knock back to enemies as well. So it's fine. That's good. So we're at 60 at the moment. I think I am going to be okay with 60, I think. I might get a tiny bit more though, just so I've got enough. But yeah, that'll do. Now I'm 59. That's not a problem though, because Blast uses 25 anyway, so wouldn't have enough for another shot. If you need lots of ammo though, there's tons here as well. Now we're hoping that the game doesn't softlock when we take this teleporter. It has once for me, and then you have to do the whole level again. And thankfully it didn't. So we're going to do a shotgun and then we do a blast. That sends him into his second phase. He's got 4 phases to this fight. We're going to rinse and repeat again. Double shotgun, blast. Take the energy. Switch back to blast quickly. And then get ready to do it 3rd time. There we go. I'm going to switch to the mine launcher this time. I'm going to switch to shock as well. And then we should be nearly done. There we go. So he's going to blow up here. And then we're going to steal the psionic orb straight from him. And then the moment that the entire world starts spinning around, that is going to be... Wait for it. Time. And that is Disruptor. And now we get to see one of the best cutscenes of the game now, which in the small Disruptor community that we have of about 4 or 5 runners, we love this cutscene just because of just the fact that it just touches the orb. That's just it, really. That's why we like this cutscene. Because it just glows and everything. It's like, ooh.
He can't be bothered by her.
Nope. But he got his ball back, so he's happy. Think of Krieger as like an evil neighbor who just didn't return the ball when it went over the fence. So, but yeah, that's Disruptor. But yeah, just want to say thank you very much for watching, everyone. It's always a great bit of fun to showcase this wonderful gem. If you've never played Disruptor, I highly recommend playing it casually, just for the cutscenes alone. So definitely play the NTSC or even the PAL version, and you'll love the cutscenes. They're so cheesy, they're so quirky, I love them to bits. And with that, I'm going to send you over to our host, and thank you very much for watching, everyone. Take care.